ZEPHYR. While technically a catalyst, ZEPHYR operates more as a true burst mage. She has a low SP cost, heightened SP regen, and her ultimate has a truly excessive damage percentage. Now, be wary. A portion of the damage ZEPHYR does will be healed after a short delay. This is an intentional balancing act. Putting a limitation or drawback on ZEPHYR's ult allows the devs to make ZEPHYR's ults that much more powerful. ZEPHYR technically does more than just healing, but the rest of her kit is kind of bad, and we will only consider ZEPHYR's damage in this video. Oh, she also doesn't provide any core breaking. Most of the S-rank mages are self-sufficient with core breaking and damage related to the same ability. ZEPHYR does not have that luxury and will need to rely on external core breaking supports. Okay, how do we play ZEPHYR? Well, in story, Mania trading, ROTD, all the good stuff, ZEPHYR sits there, menacingly waiting to execute any target that would dare consider leaving themselves vulnerable. Wait for key targets to become injured or core broken, and then use ZEPHYR to finish the job. If the target dies, well, they can't really heal at that point, and you successfully bypass ZEPHYR's primary weakness. Again, ZEPHYR relies very heavily on this execution playstyle, and if you get comfortable with the amount of damage you can expect from her, she will absolutely delete anything that may have otherwise given you trouble. Keep in mind that ZEPHYR's ultimate hits everything on the targeted tile. If you stack your opponents, you'll get even more return on ZEPHYR's insanely cheap, insanely hard-hitting ult. Because core breaking enemies receive extra damage, I would almost always wait for applicable targets to have their cores broken before committing any resources from ZEPHYR. Also, because the ultimate is so cheap, ZEPHYR is very useful against frail but annoying enemies like the ones who ignore block. Again, be patient with ZEPHYR. There's usually no reason to rush, and if you bide your time correctly, your opponents will explode. Okay, in BFL, ZEPHYR functions as a DPS unit. She's not as good here as she is elsewhere. The opposition has too much HP to reliably execute. Instead, ZEPHYR accepts that the boss will start to heal, but she also trusts her damage will greatly outpace their healing. Wait for the cores to be broken, and spam ZEPHYR's ult as fast as your fingers allow. The faster the boss goes down, the less opportunity they have to mitigate your DPS through healing. Again, ZEPHYR's damage will always outpace the healing enemies receive, but it's important to note that the faster they die, the less they heal. For a mathematical comparison, ZEPHYR's ultimate hits almost identically as hard as a 2-stack Irene ult, and ZEPHYR's is at half the SP cost. The damage is crazy good, absolutely worth trying, especially if you have strong supports like LL and Raven. We also need to keep in mind that while ZEPHYR's damage multipliers are high, her base attack stat is very, very low. This means ZEPHYR will struggle against high armor targets, which is a defining trait of most BFL bosses. For those who don't know, defenses are a flat reduction in this game. It's center attack minus opposing defense, and then all of your multipliers are applied after that calculation. What this means is that if we have two centers, one with 400 attack, one with 600 attack, it looks like it's a 50% damage boost. But in reality, again, we need to subtract that defense first. And it turns out it's 100 effective attack versus 300 effective attack, which is a 200% damage boost. A lot more than the original 50% we were looking at. In BFL particularly, ZEPHYR needs teammates who buff her attack or provide magic penetration to ensure she's not shut down by these high defenses. Here's the math. If you guys want to see it, go ahead and pause the video here. This, again, just explaining that ZEPHYR needs attack buffs and magic penetration. Okay, but speaking of teammates, let's take a look at her ideal comps. ZEPHYR needs and or wants two things from her team, buffs and core breakers. Pair ZEPHYR with Hecate, Dove, LL, Cabernet, Thistle, Raven, all the classic damage amp options to really make the most of how hard she hits. Most of these centers also perform the core breaking role, but if you need more, then continue to add centers like Labyrinth and Che until your core breaking needs are met. Ideally, you still have 1 or 2 slots left because ZEPHYR can struggle with wave clear. While ZEPHYR can hit multiple targets with her ults, she's restricted to a single tile, which makes it a far cry from popular wave clear potentials of centers like Shalom, Votaire Blue, and 11. Also note that ZEPHYR's base attack is on the low end, which means she struggles against high defenses and greatly benefits from buffs and magic penetration. ZEPHYR receives disproportionately high value from Hecate and Dove, as magic penetration helps laying the playing field between low and high attack centers. The closer the defense are to 0, the more effective ZEPHYR is. Okay, looking at Crimebrands, I really enjoy Embrace the Dead. Since ZEPHYR is mostly looking to execute core broken targets, this Crimebrand perfectly aligns with ZEPHYR's ideal combat role. Other options include Azura, Illusory Moon, or Syndicate Glory if you find yourself squaring up against a bunch of coreless enemies. Really good for story. As for her ideal investments, ZEPHYR is fine at S0. There are some A ranks, like Victoria, who heavily rely on their deeper shackles to obtain any real value. And while ZEPHYR's deeper shackles are good, especially Shackle 4, none of them will drastically change your gameplay. Baseline ZEPHYR is more than sufficient. Like in the ZEPHYR debut video, I reached 250k in Dark Zone with a Shackle 2 ECB 0 ZEPHYR. It's crazy how good she is. And speaking of her ECB, it's also very good, though the damage scaling per rank is ridiculous, more than doubles at ECB 3. I'd recommend you either go for ECB 3 or hold back entirely and purely rely on ZEPHYR's ults. The ECB is useful against larger boss targets, but is ultimately unnecessary for most content. Having just the ult is fine. Okay, as for the tier list, I'd say that ZEPHYR has great power. She's a phenomenal burst mage with low SP costs, allowing her to consistently remove vital threats. Her flaws are easily mitigated, and she hits hard enough to be a primary DPS unit even in Dark Zone. She does one thing, but she does it damn well, and again, at a very low SP cost. For this character to be balanced relative to the average A rank, they'd have to increase that SP cost by a significant margin. Keep in mind that ZEPHYR has a low attack stat, which means she struggles more than average against high defense targets, and high HP targets will dilute her damage through healing. Basically, ZEPHYR either stat checks her foes, or gets stat checked by them. I really hope Path to Nowhere continues to introduce sinners with these crazy high strengths and very obvious flaws. It provides a powerful tool that enables a lot of creativity and decision making to the player. Again, ignore all of the strangeness in ZEPHYR's kit, focus on the damage. ZEPHYR is a burst mage with emphasis on executing vulnerable targets. And with a kit this simple, effective, and rewarding, ZEPHYR is incredibly fun to play. God, I love this girl. However, keep in mind she's a discount S rank. The more powerful options offer similar damage numbers, much larger AoEs, and even provide core breaking. ZEPHYR is good, but not that good. Alright, I'm IDC, I don't care L, whatever y'all want to call me. I make showcase Path to Nowhere, limiting myself to level 70 sinners, and now on my character guides. I hope you guys leave a like and subscribe. These videos take a ton of time and effort, several hours, and I really enjoy reading your experiences in the comments. We've got a busy calendar right now. Chilena is right around the corner, and I think I'll try to squeeze in a video for Bianca between now and then. We'll see how it goes. Either way, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.